When we're stressed, we have a hard time existing in the present moment. Our thoughts might be racing every which way, ruminating on the past or in fearful anticipation of the future. Or we might find ourselves triggered by something that was done or said that's activating our body's defenses and feel ourselves coming untethered from ourselves, shifting to a place of reactivity rather than responding in the here and now. The only way to come down from this is to anchor the body back into the present moment and into ourselves. But if you're like me, that task can seem nearly impossible. So how do we do it? Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Wackett. Thanks for joining me for another video as we work to empower and equip you with the confidence and skills to write your own story so that you can live a life on purpose. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite distress tolerance skills and anchoring techniques, the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. It's an incredibly powerful pocket tool, or a tool that we can carry with us wherever we go and pull out in times of need. One of the things I focus on in my work with clients is how to manage times of high distress. This is not the time for processing or fixing the distress, but about helping the body come down from a state of high reactivity. Frequently, people try to fix or solve whatever's going on when they feel activated. And in fact, these two processes are entirely separate. When we feel stressed or reactive, our logic and reasoning brain, it's turned off. That means that processing or working through something is completely unreasonable and off the table. This is something I'm constantly reminded of when I'm talking to my daughter. See, 2-year-old brains aren't that dissimilar to adult brains, in that when we get overstimulated, anxious, or mad, we have to come down from that feeling before we can do anything reasonable with it. I can't try to logic through something with Everly if she's screaming or crying. She won't hear me. And she's only going to get more upset. If she's anxious or stressed about something, I have to help her anchor back in the moment before talking about what to do with that anxiety or stress. The 5-4-3-2-1 skill is a great tool to help with this. And while 2 might be a little young to follow it in full, this skill is effective for kids, adolescents, and adults alike. And I love it because it's free, it's always accessible, and can be used in real time. We use this skill whenever we get caught in our thoughts, whether it be anxiety about something that's already happened or could happen in the future, or a reaction to something that's triggering a stress and reactive response in our bodies. I think about this as more like a set of dominoes has been set off and we're finding it really hard not to get pulled by their momentum. So the goal of this technique is to help invite our mind and body back into the present space and anchored in ourselves, to downregulate the nervous system and lower our anxiety and distress in any given moment. Doing this can shift us away from reacting, which may present as shutting down, detaching, or losing ourselves in our thoughts and worries, or getting defensive, perhaps yelling or getting more activated and animated. Instead, we can root in ourselves, invite ourselves back into the here and now, and respond to the circumstances of the present more effectively. Now, the technique itself is simple. There are 5 steps, and each connects to a different sense. They go as follows: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First, name 5 things you can see. Now, describe it in as much or as little detail as you'd like. For example, you could say, I see a tree outside. Or you could say, I see a tree blowing in the wind with red leaves and a squirrel that's running through it. Next, you're going to name 4 things that you can touch or feel. Now, these should be external to you, meaning we're not currently focused on body sensations. So this might be something like the feel of your jeans on your legs, or the floor against your feet or your butt. It might be reaching out to touch the surface of the table or couch in front of you. And similar to the first step, you can describe it in as much or as little detail as you want. From here, we go to step 3. So name 3 things that you can hear. Again, the focus is on the external environment instead of body sounds or thoughts. Sometimes this one takes me a minute or two as I have to kind of work to bring my attention to the space. So if you feel safe, you can close your eyes to allow for a heightened auditory response, but this isn't necessary, nor should you do it if you're in a space you don't feel safe to do so. Things you might hear could be the sounds from outside, or maybe your clothes moving if you shift your body, or tap your fingers on the surface in front of you. Next, you're gonna name 2 things that you can smell. This could be your shampoo or detergent or lotion. Perhaps it's going to the window and smelling the air outside. Or maybe, is there a smell in the air around you? And then the final step is to name 1 thing that you can taste. Maybe it's the coffee or the tea that you just drank, or food flavors, spices, or gum. Maybe it's nothing, and you notice a void in that sense and acknowledge it and let it go. Now, once you finish this activity, which takes about 3 to 5 minutes to do in kind of a calm and effective way, notice how you feel. What's shifted? What feelings are you sitting with now? And again, remember the goal of this technique is not to solve or fix anything that may be caused that anxiety or triggered that response. In fact, it's an entirely different process. We can get to that another time. Our goal here is to just bring us down from that state of agitation and reactivity so that we can move through the present moment and then eventually into that space of processing, reframing, and shifting into maybe action or response. So as we close, I want you to consider situations or experiences where this could be helpful. When could you use it? And how are you going to remember to pull this pocket skill out when you need it? Is there something that you can do to trigger that response in your brain to remind yourself you know how to do this? And as always, writing things down and sharing them out loud is one of the best ways to increase our buy-in and also increase and reinforce the odds we're going to use the skill. So leave a comment below. Tell us what came up for you, how you're going to use it, so we can all build support for each other. And if you've been able to apply the skill, share with us how it worked for you or how you've made it accessible in your brain during those times of high distress. Before you go, be sure to take a look at the video notes to access some other resources that I've listed that talk about ways to practice distress tolerance. And if you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to save yourself the time and energy of having to check back for content and get an alert whenever there's new awesomeness to check out. And if you want to stay in the know on all the happenings of Adversity Rising, check the link out in the show notes to be able to sign up for my email list, where I share content exclusive to you and specials that nobody else gets access to. Thanks for being here with me today. Learning how to respond to and manage our anxiety is an incredibly powerful skill that allows us to be more effective in how we show up and engage with the world and move towards our greater goals. Because remember, we all have the right to author our own story. So let's go get those pens back.